Alright, everybody. Hello, hello. You guys hear me okay? One sec. One sec. Are we live? Okay. Okay, I think now we're good. Now we're good. Sorry. Sorry about that. Alright. Alright, everybody. We are back. We're close. We're very close to being back to the normal stream setup. Alright? Because what had to happen is basically, one, I had to get back from Iceland to here in Maryland, United States. I had to get back from Iceland to America. That is accomplished. So now we're back to good web camera, decent microphone, that stuff. The final step is getting back from where I'm currently in Maryland to where I normally live. And then we're back at the usual setup. So we made it 50% of the way back. All right? We're almost there. So Monday's stream will be back in the usual setup. So we're almost there. So this is a big win. We're back here at least. We're back here. This was a short chapter. This was a fun chapter. This was basically a chapter for the old school One Piece fans. The Neon Frequency, thanks for the 5. We haven't seen an Awakened Logia yet because Smoker is going to be the first lol. If Smoker is the first Awakened Logia, I don't even know what to say. You guys know I'm a Smoker fan. I love Smoker. I love Smoker as much as anybody loves Smoker. I'm probably one of the bigger Smoker fans in general. I've wanted this man to join the Stride crew, you know? Like, I'm a big Smoker fan. Even then, I think it is very unlikely that Smoker is the first Logia Awakening we ever see. It would be cool, but I don't really know if it's there. Good web camera, send it. It's a better web camera. It's better than. You want me to switch to the other one? It's the laptop web camera. It's a better web camera. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick for the better web camera. Jolly D Joestar, thanks for the 2. This chapter reminded me of starting Skypiea in 2016. Oh, you started Skypiea in 2016? It's still crazy to me that like so many One Piece fans are just newer fans. You know, I mean, new is relative. 2016 was 8 years ago, right? So I guess it's just by my standards, because like I was in Skypiea when it was like what 2000. It must have been 2007. I was watching Skypiea or some shit. So yeah, everything's just relative. But yeah, I think just slow introduction to a new setting that's somewhat fantastical without any real threats to the Straw Hats, right? My question is, there's one big thing that was stated this chapter, right? Synesthesia says Morj could stunt double for Iñaki Godoy. My own mom, my mom at one point said that, because we were watching the One Piece live action together, and she said I looked like Luffy's actor at one point. I was like, I don't know how to with that. I don't know what to say about that. Let me see one thing real quick, because the one thing that stood out about this chapter to me was what was stated very early on, right? So we're all reading the same thing, right? We're all reading the same thing here, right? I'm not misreading this. Let me just make sure I'm not misreading this, okay? So they say in the first page of the chapter, right? We need to report this to the Great Sun God. Who the fuck is the Great Sun God? Do they have their own Sun God? Yes, Smoker was the first Logia shown. I think Smoker. What's interesting about Smoker being the first Logia shown is, if you think about it, he's kind of like he's the most basic Logia you could introduce to basically to purely establish the simple concept of being a Logia. Because the real thing that's like really difficult about dealing with Logia, at least for all of pre-time skip One Piece, was not even their elemental abilities, although obviously that was a big problem. It was the fact that they were intangible, right? That's a very unique problem to deal with, right? Like in any sort of fictional context, like intangible opponents. That was the issue with the Logias, right? So Smoker is like the most basic way you can introduce that concept, because Smoke in and of itself, it doesn't have much offensive utility or anything like that. The real issue with Smoker was pretty much just that he's an intangible character, right? That's just it. It's just introducing the basic concept that, hey, you are going to meet intangible characters you literally physically cannot hit, right? And then from then on, you start adding more like powerful elements like fire or like ice or lightning and things like that. Even Crocodile, who like, sand and everything, but he can do a lot more with the sand, like create the sandstorms or like the giant sand blades and stuff like that. Like Smoker's smoke is it's just him turning intangible. Like it's the simplest form of Logia use that you can possibly have in the story, right? So that's why he was a good way to introduce the concept, I think, because it just hits us with the, oh shit, why can't Luffy hit this guy? And then we sort of ramp up from there to like Logias that also have more powerful abilities associated beyond just being intangible. Goomba Boomba, thanks for the 5. Please let the pre-time skip vibes last a few more chapters at least. Also, how's Iceland? It's number 1 on my travel bucket list. Okay, great questions. Okay, so first of all, the pre-time skip vibes I am enjoying. I don't know how long they'll last. So I feel like we get maybe a couple more chapters of them at the very least. The video that's coming out this next Tuesday is a deep dive into the Straw Hat crew dynamic and why splitting the crew up like this is a really, really smart idea and almost necessary at this point in the story. I do think that, I don't know, like the last time that we had something slow and simple, like this slow and simple as a start to an island, like even Egghead was slow and simple to start with, but I think we started to get it, like this chapter just felt like an I don't think Egghead, how do I say this? I don't think this chapter really just felt like a simple comedy scene almost that was extended over the course of the entire chapter, which we haven't really gotten in a long time. Even Egghead wasn't really like that, so that is more pre-time skip vibes. As for Iceland, I'm no longer in Iceland. I'm back in my parents' house, right? So I traveled with my family to Iceland. We're now back in my parents' house, and then come Sunday, I'll be traveling back to my own place. Basically, the vacation ends then. At that point, vacation trip. I still have to work the entire time, so you're still getting your video Tuesday and everything like that. I would have streamed last night. It was scheduled for midnight Iceland time, which is 8 p.m. EST. That was the time the stream was scheduled for, and then the chapter didn't come out. So then I was like, okay, I can't do anything about that. I had to go to sleep and then catch the flight today, so no time to stream till just now. But Iceland was phenomenal. Iceland was one of the coolest places you could, like, my family has traveled a lot, taken me a lot of places traveling when I was growing up. That was kind of our thing. Or my parents really enjoyed doing that, so they would always save money to be able to travel a lot. So I've seen a lot of places. I think just in terms of general travel, I think I'm probably on the higher end of the spectrum for what most people have seen. Iceland is maybe the coolest, in terms of pure nature scenery, I think Iceland is the coolest country that I've seen. In just terms of pure visual driving around, what looks amazing, I think Iceland is number 1. It's a little bleak at first. It like the day that we flew in, the weather wasn't so good. So it looks a little bleak at first, but then as the sky cleared up, once there's just a little sun and some clear skies in Iceland, everything is beautiful. Because it looks like, my cousin described it as basically like, it feels like a different planet in a sense. Once you're hitting certain sights and scenes of it, it's just very, very unique. Lots of waterfalls, lots of very open plains, but then also mountains. It has a very unique color palette, I think, to it. You see lava flows, like rocks formed by lava flows that are very distinct. You see lots of very distinct natural formations and color combinations and stuff that you would not see elsewhere. Northern Lights, I assume, is the biggest draw to people. I'm going to give you guys some spoilers right now. What we learned over the course of our time at Iceland is that, yes, the Northern Lights happen all the time, but it's kind of deceptive. They're kind of deceptive with their marketing for it, right? Because the Northern Lights, to be truly visible and vibrant to the naked eye, it needs to be like somewhere between like a 7 to a 9 on the scale, this KP scale, basically. And that does not happen that often, okay? What you do get in the mid-tier of that scale is a sort of white haze that you can see throughout the sky, and your cameras can capture that white haze really, really well. So in photos and videos, the Northern Lights look really beautiful and vibrant and colorful, and I'm sure you know people who maybe have traveled to Iceland who have really good photos of them with the Northern Lights, or you see good photos of it online or videos and stuff like that. Like I had a couple photos of myself with the Northern Lights in the background that look good. The reality is that while it's going to show up really well on camera, in like to the naked eye, it it looks really beautiful. It does look like really cool shimmering lights in the sky, but the color is not there. The color doesn't form until it's like way, way, way high on the scale, and that is a very rare event that it's that strong that you can actually see it the way that it looks on camera. So that's not to burst people's bubble with the Northern Lights too much. That's at least the case that it is in Iceland. In other places, Alaska, I don't know. Maybe it's a bit more vibrant. But you can see the Northern Lights like full color and everything in Iceland. It's just more of a time commitment, spending weeks there, really camping out, trying to wait for like the right chance for it to find like the stars to align and it for to be like fully colored. Otherwise, you're gonna see a lot of the Northern Lights, but it's gonna be a neutered version of it, and that's what we saw. Again, on camera, I could lie to people and show people on camera, look, you see all the green and stuff and blue in the background? That's what it looked like to me. That's not what it actually looked like to me. It looks really good on camera. I've got some good photos. My parents have some good photos. But to the naked eye, it was beautiful, but not like it was in videos and stuff like that. So just full disclosure there, if you're thinking about traveling to Iceland. Like, don't go in expecting that you're definitely going to see Northern Lights. Go in just ready to enjoy the nature, the beauty, all of that, because there's so much stuff to see. But don't let your trip hinge on whether or not you see the Northern Lights or not. Hope that helps. Anyway, moving along. Thanks for asking about the trip, though. I'm going to try not to talk about the trip too much, but, you know, that's where my mental state is at. I just got off a plane. Bunfagum, thanks for the 7. It feels like Oda's setting up Ragnarok with the Yggdrasil under threat. We also have mention of a false sun god, possibly being Loki. I don't think Loki would be viewed as a sun god for them, but it is interesting that they view someone as a great sun god. Maybe it is Loki, and maybe Loki's just lying to the people, kind of like Usopp lied to the Tontatas, like Usoland. Yggdrasil being under threat. I mean, I don't know how significant. I don't know if the Yggdrasil is going to be really significant to the arc, like if it's just something that's important to the Giants, or if it's going to be actually plot-wise significant. I do think that like people have been fans have been talking about how Ragnarok, like the final war of One Piece, is similar to Ragnarok and stuff, and so thematically we could get some of that worked into the the Norse mythology stuff worked into the Elbaf arc to kick off this stuff, kick off the final war. Angel Reeves, thanks for the 5. I already see the Usopp setup. Can't wait for it to end like Wano Zoro plot lines. No, I don't think it's good. I think that this is going to be more of an Usopp centric arc than Wano was for Zoro. I'll just say that right now. Grizzly Adams, thanks for the 5. Dax Sake made a video a year ago theorizing that Yggdrasil would be burned in Elbaf. This chapter seems to support that up, so props to him. Oh shit, that's a really good call. That's a phenomenal call, just like right off the bat. Like, that must feel nice. First chapter of Elbaf, your theory is proven correct. Bunfagun, thanks for the 7. It's also super interesting that we're starting off the arc with Luffy and the giant gang slaying gods while also playing up the idea of false gods. I do think that's really interesting. I also think it's just cool from the perspective that the monster trio has come so far. Like, the Strats have come so far that one, even Usopp and Nami aren't like helpless, although they kind of felt like that a little bit. But the monster trio have come so far that they can casually slay the gods of the strongest nation on Earth. Like, you remember when the Giants were a big deal way back in Little Garden? Just meeting Giants was like a huge situation. Just like, holy shit, these things are so way out of the league of the Strats and everything. And now it's just like, the Strats can stroll into Elbaf and immediately be the strongest characters there. But I do agree that, thematically it could be really interesting. Ray Ochia, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 23 months, man. I've had the worst couple of weeks. My dog needed surgery, then my grandma died, and now my dog is once again not eating and needs another checkup. Holy shit, I'm really sorry about your grandma. What the hell? That's a really, really rough couple of weeks. I am sorry about that. I hope your dog gets better. Definitely take him to the vet. Although having owned a dog for long periods of time, for a long time, I will say that, sometimes they just go through a stint where they're, not feeling too good. They don't eat for a little bit. It's usually not a big deal unless they're like throwing up and doing lots of stuff. Although needing the surgery, it could be something different. I would just chalk it up to recovering for the surgery. Blazing Blue, thank you for the 20. Holy shit. It's interesting that the town and castle are Lego, but the outfits for the Giants and the crew aren't. I wonder if the Lego might be a fruit power. Fantastical on the surface, but really more sinister like Sugar's power. That's a really interesting point because I didn't actually give too much thought to the Lego. I thought that honestly it might just be like a fun little creative design by Oda, considering people are talking about how Lego is from that region of the world, at least in the real world, right? So it could just be a fun little play on like, oh, their whole architecture is made out of that sort of stuff. But it being a fruit ability, it could be a really cool devil fruit ability. I didn't think about that. Quiet asked, "How's the food out there? Just in Iceland?" I don't think you don't really go to Iceland for the food. The food is good depending on what you like to eat. So their selection is generally narrow. They don't have the most broad cuisine. Sorry, running on a little low sleep, so I might be rubbing my eyes a little bit. Yeah, they don't have the broadest cuisine. If you like seafood, they're really good for that. They've got a lot of good fish. I'm not even that big on seafood, but I really enjoyed the smoked salmon dishes that they had. And then the other big thing that they do is lamb. So lamb and seafood, those are kind of the two big things. Because if you travel through Iceland, everywhere you see fucking sheep. There's sheep all like there's sheep all throughout Iceland. You can't go 2 minutes driving without seeing some fucking sheep on the side. At least if you're going through the countryside or something like that. So, yeah, I'd say if you like lamb, if you like seafood, Iceland's kind of good for those two things. But again, not a ton of variety. Not a ton of variety. Hi, thanks for the 10. Robin not knowing hockey bothers me the most. I get the other non-hockey users because they didn't know, because their mentor didn't know, but her being with the revolutionaries and her feeling pain from the body parts she manifests shows why she needed it. Here's the thing, and I've argued this before. So on the one hand, yeah, Robin literally trained, like she trained with, I forget, Koala or like Hack or something. Like she used moves that she learned from the Revolutionary Army against Black Maria, right? But the thing is that Robin can't, in my opinion, get armament hockey because I think it's just too broken. I just genuinely think it's too broken because if you can, how do I put this? Consider this. So Robin's physical capability right now is that of an average human being, right? Like literally just an average human being. Like maybe slightly above average human being, but it's like if she had a Dowricky scale done to her, it would be like a 12, you know? I'd give her like, you know, without the devil fruit, she's just a woman. Probably like a little more battle tested, so like a little bit, you know, tougher and everything like that, but like she's not some superhuman character, right? Despite that, literally just being a normal fucking human. Like people talk about devil fruits giving people big boosts. I would genuinely argue that Robin probably has the largest boost in ability given to her by devil fruit out of any character in the story. Because I don't think I can think of another devil fruit user that is like literally Toby Ropo level, right? Like a strong, like a Yonko officer level character, right? Like can fuck up vice admirals, all of that sort of thing, right? Pretty easily, probably. Like she can fuck up Hakuba with zero difficulty, right? Like she's really, really strong, right? Like she's she's, if you look at the entire scope of the New World, Robin is like high up there, right? She's not top tier, but she's like one tier below Yonko top commanders, right? Basically, that's where Robin is, right? And if you just take away her devil fruit, she's just a normal person, right? There is no other character I can think of in One Piece that's that big of a gap. Like, I joke about how Law's really devil fruit reliant, but you take Law's devil fruit away, he's still like a good hockey user. He is, my jokes and rants aside, he is still like, he could fight with a sword, he could fight with hockey, I would still bet on Law against some fucking Toby Roper or something without his, without his devil fruit, right? You take away even Enel's fruit, right? You take away Enel's fruit, and he's still like he was going toe to toe with Alabasta Luffy, even without with just his physical combat abilities and mantra and stuff like that, right? Robin is, I truly believe, the biggest increase in terms of just her normal person to what she is with her devil fruit, right? Because her devil fruit, the way that it works is it's so broken, it exponentially increases what you can do because you're multiplying yourself over and over, and you can do it from all surroundings, right? So all of that is to say that if you gave Robin hockey, I think it would be too game break. It's not like she'd be the strongest character in the world suddenly, but it would escalate her in the power rankings probably much further than Oda would reasonably want to have her. Like, it just would. Because that's just what her devil fruit does. It's that busted. Like, she's just, like, it's so busted that just a normal woman with that devil fruit is, like, Yonko top officer level, right? So giving her hockey, like any increase, any buffs you give to Robin, like her base abilities, it's just it scales too much. Does that make sense? So there's no logical in-story reason that she doesn't know it. It's more so an out-of-story reason, in my opinion, that Oda made already a busted fruit. And by the way, it's a busted fruit that Robin, as is, doesn't use to its full capabilities. She could do a lot of shit to people's eyes. And it's not even like Oda doesn't know that she can do shit to people's eyes, because that's what she does in her fight against Yama. But all she does is cover Yama's eyes, if I recall. Unless I'm completely misremembering the scene, I swear that she covers his eyes or something. It's like, if you're gonna cover his eyes, just stab his eye. Like, what? Doesn't make sense. Robin should be a broken character, but like the fruit is just too strong of an ability that Oda has to nerf her in many other ways, such as not making her physically strong, and certainly not giving her hockey, and certainly not having her actually abuse like people's weak points and stuff like that. Jordan Taylor, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 24 months. My cousin watches the anime, and I was talking to him about theories, and he thinks that Zunisha's purpose is to destroy the Red Line. Thoughts? Question mark. I think that it would be. I don't think Zunisha is going to destroy the Red Line. I think that that's a little too difficult for Zunisha to destroy. And I think that the destruction of the Red Line should go to somebody else, some other character. But many people believe in the destruction of the Red Line. I believe that for a long time. I think either Luffy doing it physically with his own hands, right? Or Pluton doing it and that coming into play. Breezy2x, thanks for the 2. Yo, Morj. Wait. What the fuck? Let me scroll. Yo, Morj, do you have to jump to get in your jeans? What does that mean? What does that mean? Can somebody explain that? What does that mean? Is this an insult? What does that mean? What does that mean? Somebody explain this. What does that mean? Hiyo, thanks for the 5. Also, Luffy definitely ate the rabbit ear god, and it'll be a point of contention. Yeah, I think there's funny stuff to come out of that. Also, let's get the likes up to 100 real quick. Tyson NJ, thanks for the 5. Okay, Morj, beard, hair, glasses, combo, relax. My future wife might see you stunting on us. Hey, leave me alone. I just got off the plane. I'm tired. Leave me alone. The Senate, thanks for the 5. Today's my birthday, Morj. Big 19, solid birthday chapter. Love you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Also, when's the One Piece video game stream? Oh shit, happy birthday. I'm just processing that. Hey, congratulations. And you're 19 now, so I don't know, that's not a really major one. This is your last year of being a teenager, so celebrate that. One Piece video game stream. I think that'll be at some point during a break week, but probably not this break week. This Monday, if I have the energy, I might do a top 30 stream. But I might actually do it a lot earlier in the day. Would people be upset with me if I did that earlier in the day? Oh, I see what you... Okay, alright, Breezy. Oh shit! I scroll too far past. The stream is going. Chat's moving a little laggy for me too. Okay. I'm catching up. Give me a second. It's slightly frozen, but just a little bit. Okay, it's just frozen. All right. Okay. No. It's moving. It's moving. Okay. Okay. Yeah, One Piece video game. Okay, would people be upset if I streamed earlier on Monday than usual? Like, earlier as in, like, midday Monday. Dom, thanks for being a yawn. Part of the reason is just because on Sunday I'm traveling back, and for me it'll have basically been, like, a kind of a non-stop train of traveling, because, like, tomorrow I'm going to be out all day. It's my last day in Maryland, so I'm just doing some stuff. I'm going to be out all day. It's going to be a long day. Then Sunday I'm traveling again. So then Monday... What I would definitely like is to just be able to get tasks out of the way in the morning and then just crash and relax all that day and get some rest in. Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe I stream earlier in the day rather than keep it for the evening. Would people be upset? Dom, thanks for being a Yonko Chairman for 24 months. Morj. Hidden put out the best Gorsen Emu video to date. Check it out when you get the chance. Oh, yeah, I think Hidden Island makes great theories, so I could check that out at some point. How early? It would be, let me think. It would be maybe like noon. Is noon too early for people? Would people be upset if I did it at noonish EST? Yeah, noonish EST. A One Piece video game stream, though, I will do at some point. Some point being probably a break week or something like that. Probably some break week. Bunfagum, thanks for the 2. Chopper's chilling since he can talk with animals. Did anyone see the live-action Chopper getting hinted at? Oh, shit. And it looks like they're going to go CGI, unless I was totally misinterpreting that photo. And you are definitely right. Chopper was probably friends with that ear god that they just killed. That's actually a huge point. What if Chopper's the false sun god that they believe in? Because all the other animals listen to him. That's probably not the case, but... Damn, that's a really, really, really good point. I did not think about that. That's what Chopper's up to. Rico Guapo, thanks a lot. Speaking for Robin, thoughts on live-action Robin and Croc? Here we go. We're getting into the One Piece live-action stuff. Who saw the news about that shit? I think both look perfect for the roles. I don't know their acting careers, so all I can really judge on is what they look like for the roles, and they both look really, really like they perfectly fit the roles. So I think that works. All-powerful God NL, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 17 months, man. Sup, Mordster, I really love this chapter. It's cool how the beginnings far keep that OG One Piece feeling of wonder, and I like seeing the first 5 alone together. That's one thing that I really liked about, just keeping it tight to the first 5. I think that's really cool. People were talking about the Alabasta callbacks and everything like that too, with the spread being very similar. I like that's one of the reasons I enjoy the Seducing Woods, even though a lot of people really dislike the Seducing Woods section of Whole Cake Island. I enjoy the Seducing Woods section. I enjoy Act 1 of Wano. In fact, it's my favorite out of the 3 acts. I like that style of One Piece when we can cut back to that. Fodder for hire, thanks to the 2. Morj Beard, coup de burst got them their thoughts. So I think that with this chapter, there's a stronger indication. Just the emphasis on the alcohol and the hallucinations. I think there's a stronger possibility that one of them drunkenly did something that maybe got the ship there faster. And coup de burst could be a great possibility. Some people said last stream that maybe Nami just drunkenly navigated them there. But I think the fact that they got there so fast means maybe coup de burst is more likely. Great, good time, that's fine. All right, I might do noon then. Umir says noon is crazy. I don't know. We'll see. JWP, always good to see you, man. Thank you very much for the 5. Thoughts on the lion/cat being Loki? We see it wearing Loki's crown. Shit, you guys think that's Loki? You think they just fucked up Loki? That's actually a really interesting point. I did not consider that at all. They just fucked up Loki himself. I don't think that's Loki, because it was acting so animalistic. You know what I mean? Like, it was actually trying to kill them and eat them and shit, you know? I don't think that's Loki, although that'd be a really cool little twist if that turned out to be Loki. I'll just say this. I personally think that 5 is a good... Look, I don't even know how to explain this. I think that... I talk about it more in depth in next Tuesday's video. I love that. I like all the strats at this point. Even ones that took me a while to like Jinbei. I like them now. I like all the strats. That being said, I personally feel like the smaller crew dynamics are just... The dynamic of the smaller crew is better, and that it's easier to work with so many characters. I don't think it's Loki the more I think about it. DUI immediately. Yeah, Bunfagum, thanks for the 5. The cat definitely ate a devil fruit. Just look at the eyes and the fact that it de-transformed. Also, I like the idea that it's someone's pet, hopefully Loki's. Oh, you think the cat ate a fruit then? So it's a cat that ate some sort of a fruit. I kind of just figured... I wonder why we're getting so much emphasis on Elbaf's animals right now. Because I just didn't think that it would be like a very animal-centric sort of focus. But the bees, the rabbit, the lion-cat thing... Also, I'm really curious how big this rabbit is. Because... It sounded like the Giants thought it was too big for any of the Giants to have killed it. So it's like, if it's too big for Giants to have killed it, how The fact that the Strats already ate it makes me feel like we're never going to see it. But it must have been a fucking gigantic-ass rabbit. Also, the fact that they felt like the tremors were from the rabbit falling. I don't know. Niranjan Pandit, thanks for the 2. Thoughts on Usopp getting low diffed by a cat? Here's the thing. I think out of all the Straw Hats, Usopp's got the widest... He's got the lowest floor. Usopp's floor, in terms of performance, it's still, like, pre-time skip level. Like, not him pre-time skip level, but, like, if you told me that Usopp had to face Alabasta Zoro tomorrow, and Usopp loses, I'd be like, yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. At the same time, if you told me that right now that Usopp with, like, locked in Usopp, with prep, like, a little bit of prep and strategy and, like, firing on all cylinders, like, you know, that Usopp, if he had to face tomorrow, like pre-time skip, Luffy, and he somehow beat him, I'd be like, that also tracks. I could see that. You know what I mean? Like, maybe even above I don't really know. I don't know how to... Usopp's the hardest Strat to scale, because his floor has just always been low. Like, really, really low. Like, you guys remember, we were at a point where he'd, like, already defeated Chu, and, like, he'd helped defeat the Mr. 4 duo and stuff like that. But then he got jumped by the Frankie family, and he just loses to the Frankie family. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, his floor is so low. And then, similarly, like, he beats Perona, but at the same time, he's struggling with random zombies earlier that same arc. You know what I mean? So it's, like, locked in Usopp when he's, like, Oda's trying to write a fight for him, and Oda's having Usopp be in his in the zone, and really plan, and pulling out all the tricks from his bag and stuff like that. He can do a lot. He can punch way above his weight class. But just offhand, Usopp having to fight some people, it can be rough. It can be really rough. Like, you remember Punk Hazard, like, Usopp shows up and takes out, like, to take on by himself, like, a bunch of Caesar's minions, and they're just generic-ass henchmen that any of the other Strats could, like, zero diff, like, pre-time skip, right? But for Usopp, it's actually kind of a big deal, because, like, you never really see him try and solo, like, a whole group of fodder by himself, you know what I mean? So, yeah, Usopp getting beaten by the cat lion thing, it's not crazy. It's kind of just, like, it makes sense. Like, I could imagine him doing that, and then at the same time, I can imagine him, like beating Yasop or something later in the arc. You know what I mean? I think that's always the fun thing about Usopp, is that he has such a wide range as to what he can do. Fading Phase, thanks for the 5. Hey Morj, hope the vacation went well. Sanji fans must have been fuming reading that he pulled out Ifrit Jambe on the cat. Okay, so this is one of the things that really, really bothers me, which is just that it's just like I think it's just, how do I say this? I think it's sad that we're at a point in the community where it's like, we can't even get a fun callback panel to, like, old school Alabasta Monster Trio type stuff. Like, this is supposed to be a fun Monster Trio type, just a fun Monster Trio panel, you know? And people are using it as an opportunity to drag Sanji. It's just like, why? Why are we like, I'm sure Sanji could have beaten the cat without Ifrit Jambe, you know what I mean? It's just, Oda's just doing, like, it's just cool. I will say that in general, Oda tends to pull out Zoro's power-ups more rarely, right? And then Luffy has so many power-ups that he uses so frequently that Oda will just mix them in whenever. I mean, if we go back to even, like, when the Strats all did their team attack on the Pacifista, like, yeah, Sanji used Diablo Jambe there. Luffy was using Gear Second. Zoro didn't use Ashura or anything like that. Zoro just used a base attack. But I think that's just always kind of been the case. Like, Oda generally has Zoro fight in base more. He's always had Sanji more quick to use things like Diablo Jambe, Ifrit Jambe, right? Like, he just uses them all the time. And then Luffy's just got so many transformations and power-ups. It's like, he can be using Gear Second, he can be using Gear Third, he can be using Gear Fourth, he can be using... like, he can just do so many different things. He can be using Conqueror's Haki, Advanced Conqueror's Haki, Advanced Armament Haki, yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, that's just how Oda's always written it, you know? Maybe it says something about the scaling, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Oda just always had Sanji be more quick to use his power-ups compared to Zoro. And then Luffy, Oda just always has him do some shit, you know? Um, Fading Faces, I was just trolling, man. I know you're... Okay, that's fine, but, like, it's just, like... I was just reading Twitter, and it's kind of crazy. It's just, like, look, I get it. Like, comparing the monster tree... Like, I like scaling and stuff, too. I like comparing characters' feats, etc. You know, give me a good Zoro Law comparison conversation any day, right? But this is just crazy, because it's just like, holy shit, we're on, like... It's chapter 1. It's chapter 1 of Elbaf. An extraordinarily low stakes scenario. Like, literally just, it's supposed to be a fun, comedy, lighthearted chapter with some throwback old school vibes, fighting a fucking cat that we know any of these characters could beat by themselves with no difficulty. And people are picking this apart to be like, this means that Sanji versus Zoro, like, Sanji scales below Zoro using no Conqueror's Haki, and Luffy's equal to, like, Luffy gear 3rd, gear 4th, whatever he's using. It's just like, what's wrong? What's wrong with people? This isn't even a thing. It's a fucking cat. It's chapter 1 of Elbaf. We don't even know what the... It's just some random cat. It's just supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fun. Justin Hall, thanks for the 5. I hope for a meeting of different races connected to Nika and Elbaf, particularly regarding the coming war and Strahd being MVP in that meeting. So the fact that we're already talking about the Sun God, I think that's really interesting, because I think that what Luffy means, and like what seeing Luffy as the Sun God as Nika in this arc is going to be really significant. Meeting of different races. I mean, Jinbei's here, but I don't know how many more fishmen could show up here. I don't know how many, like, what other races could really show up. Like, the Minks probably not. Lunarians don't fucking exist anymore. So I don't know, but I think the Giants giving us some insight into the context of the Sun God and Nika in general, I think that could, like, Nika's lore in general could be significant. Lars Mango, thanks for the 7. Rate their drips. Zoro looks... Okay, I've always been a terrible drip rater, because I think I don't have... an eye for what is or isn't good fashion. I guess I just know what I think looks good. Zoro looks like some inspector, probably a callback to Zoro. Oh, like Zoro, like the film character. Thoughts on Oda becoming an ass man? Alright, that is a strange development on Oda's part. Like, it is genuinely strange, because it's only been a thing since Egghead Island. I actually joked way back at the beginning of Egghead Island that I felt like somebody else was drawing the story or writing the story at this point, because like Oda never used to care about that much, but it's just very blatant now. Anyway, let's take a look at their outfits. Let's take a look at their outfits. So, give me a second here. Give me a second. I guess the last page spread is the best way to look at it. Okay. I personally think Zoro looks really lame with those glasses. I'll just say that. And I think Oda usually tends to give Zoro really good designs, personally, I think. Like, outfits for the arc. I think he looks really lame there. Luffy, simple, clean. Simple. Just a simple outfit. I think Sanji... Okay, Usopp looks the silliest, but Usopp's funny. Usopp looks like... What's he wearing here exactly? It looks like... he reminds me of... Wait a second. Where's Usopp? Where's Usopp's full... He reminds me... Oh, he's like Obelix from Asterix. He's like Obelix from Asterix. That type of design. So, I like it. I think it's funny. It's goofy. It's good for Usopp. I think Nami is the best design. Like she's got the, like, I think this might be like an iconic Nami outfit for the future. I don't think Zoro looks cool in this. Luffy's is about what you'd expect. Sanji's is about what I don't know. It's fine. That's my thoughts. But I'm not the best judge of those things. That's just me personally. That cat was Kaido level? Maybe. Luffy looks awesome. Yeah, I don't know, personal preference. I think it's like I think it's straightforward. I think Luffy's is just straightforward Viking thing. Yeah, I think Nami has the best. Oh, people really like Sanji's? Wait, let me do a quick poll on this. I hope this doesn't break the stream. I'm kind of curious. Yeah, Usopp looks like Queens? Yeah. Best outfit. I think most people don't think Usopp looks that cool, right? So I'm just going to leave him out of this. Luffy. Zoro. Nami. Sanji. I'm just doing them in order of their introduction as characters, okay? Don't read too much into that. I'm not trying to rank them myself. Luffy's is mid, not gonna lie. I mean, I think it's just standard, what I would standard expect for it. Oh, people like Sanji's a lot? I could see that. Yeah, I think consensus is Zoro's is kind of... I think the glasses is just... glasses is just kind of lame. To me. Why is he even wearing the glasses? Wait, time out. Why is Zoro even wearing the glasses? Because, like, he doesn't have to. You know, because, like, if he's like the other characters, then that he woke up at some point in this arc. There's two options if you think about it, right? So either Zoro woke up in the arc, right? And realized that somebody had, like, similar to Nami, realized that somebody had put glasses on him. And he was just like, alright, cool, I guess I'm just gonna wear glasses now for the rest of this arc. Either that happened, like, either he woke up dressed up with glasses on his face and was just like, I'm not taking this off, I'm just gonna wear this, right? Or he found these clothes, right? They found these clothes and they decided to dress themselves and they put on all their clothes, and then Zoro for some reason was like, he saw a pair of glasses and was just like, I don't need these to see, but I'm just gonna put them on my face, wear them, walk around in them, and no one's really gonna question it. It reminds me, I swear there's like a funny LeBron video where, like, it's not glasses, it's his goggles. What is it? He wore goggles in Skypiea. The difference is that I feel like those served a purpose for some reason. Like, he didn't actually have them on his face, though, right? He didn't have them on his face for the majority of it. I think he first had them on when he was fighting that sky shark underwater, and that made sense. I might be wrong, but he was fighting the sky shark underwater, and then after that part was over, he put the goggles up. Like, that's the difference, right? He had the goggles. Like, one, they served a utility, and then two, he didn't fucking wear them the rest of the arc. He wore them at one moment to try and trick Brahm into thinking that he had, like, that there were sunglasses, basically, so that the flashlights wouldn't work on him, but that was a ruse that didn't work, right? Beyond that, Zoro just had the goggles up. This is different in that he seems to have just either decided that he's okay with having them just randomly on his face by whoever dressed him, or he actively chose to just put them on and put it on his face. Again, I was going to say it reminds me, I swear there's like a LeBron video. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I swear there's like a LeBron video where, like, LeBron just finds some glasses and he just let me see if this is a real thing. It's really hold on. LeBron puts on glasses. Yeah. Puts on I don't even know how to describe this. It's just a video of, like, I'm not gonna get into basketball stuff, but LeBron okay, for those of you who don't, I'm pretty sure this is what the video was. Another player's goggles, because you know when you're playing sports, you wear goggles if you have glasses on, right? The player's goggles came off. Like, LeBron just picked him up and, like, quietly just put him on for no reason whatsoever. Everyone's just like, why is he doing this? Was it for a joke? What's he doing? He doesn't need these. They're not his. He doesn't need them. JWP, thanks for the 10. I like Zoro's glasses, but I'm in the minority, and I agree with the 5-person dynamic being peak. I feel like Oda usually splits the Strats into groups of 2 or 3 instead of 2 groups of 5. That's what I really like about this dynamic, which is just keep them in 5. I guess Chopper will be added in soon, so 6. We still know that's manageable. You know, Alabasta, like, that was all good. And then the other group, I'm more so excited for cutting back to the other group, because the other group will finally, I'm saving it for next week's video, but the other group will finally get some much needed stuff, in my opinion. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 150 real quick. It's a Viking mask. It's a mask. So Zor just thinks it looks cool. I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair. Zenit, welcome to the Yonko. Thanks for joining. Watch out for my podcast. I will record it tomorrow. I'll record it tomorrow. Honestly, after stream, I'm just going to go straight to sleep. It is currently in Iceland. It is almost 2 a.m. It's almost 2 a.m. and my body and mind is on Iceland time at the moment. I think in the morning I will record chapter review and Patreon podcast. I want to be more mentally fresh. I like recording the chapter review after I do the stream, because usually the stream lets me bounce off more ideas with viewers, and then viewers have some things that they point out about the chapter. "3D Table says that goes viral every couple of months, asking why he did it." Yeah, that's what I'm thinking here. That's what I think is all right now. Jacob Rogala says, "I need some good chopper writing." I don't think we will get good chopper writing in this arc. I just don't think. It would be really nice if we did, but there's almost nothing to me that suggests we will. Maybe the fact that he can talk to animals, right? Maybe that's going to be a big deal, because this does seem to be a very animal-centric island, right? So that could be good. You know what's a travesty? So, you know the arc that Chopper was most significant in the New World? Like, I think that he played the biggest role. Like, or he was most impactful. The arc that Chopper was most impactful in the New World was, who can guess? Tell me which arc Chopper was most impactful. Which arc was Chopper the hero of? Oscar Cruz, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 21 months. Love these strats together and just bouncing off one another. Yeah, this was a really, really good chapter. Like, I like it just because good comedy, slow pace, not slow pace, but like, it's a full extended scene, like sequence. Like, Oda's not cutting around. There were no cuts this chapter. It was just one extended scene, like we used to get in the old days. It just lets you be in the moment and enjoy the character dynamics and the interactions more without having to jump cut like every 3 pages to some other characters doing some other shit. Just lets the dialogue flow more. Yeah, just lets the dynamic breathe. Lets you, just lets everything breathe. I enjoy it a lot. Punk Hazard, Wano. No, Ahmed Booz is correct. It is Zoe. Zoe is the arc that Chopper was most impactful. Chopper was the savior of all of Zoe. Literally, Chopper saved all of Zoe. That's why when they showed up, all the minks were sucking Chopper's dick, and Chopper was literally dressed up as royalty. Like, if you remember when they show up to Zoe, Chopper's dressed up as royalty. He's the king of that nation when they show up to Zoe. He's the king of the nation. He saved the entire... the entire civilization of Zoe is dead if Chopper did not get there in time and save all of them, right? All of Zoe kicks off with basically Chopper basically being the savior, right? That's why they love the Strahd so much. The Reindeer Kun or whatever, Chopper saved all of them. That's why they love the Straw Hats. They're also happy that Strahd's defeated Doflamingo, which, if I recall, was tangentially important to them, because they said that it helped send Jack away, distract Jack to go do a different mission. But Chopper was the big deal. Chopper was to Zoe, in terms of impact, what Usopp was to Dressrosa. And that Usopp freed all these people in Dressrosa, Chopper saved the entire civilization of Zoe. Essentially single-handed. He did get help from Caesar, but we don't count Caesar. But yeah, that's the thing. And that's what I'm saying. That's what the travesty is, because Jolly D. Joestar says that's off-screen, though. That's the travesty. The arc that Chopper was the hero of the entire arc, and like saved this entire civilization, the arc that Chopper was objectively most impactful, he didn't really get anything out of it. That's, to be fair, that's not a real complaint of mine, because Zoe's a mini arc. Right? Zoe's like a little mini side baby arc. I'm not expecting any of the Strats to get anything in Zoe, right? But I just think it's like funny that, like, in the grand scheme of things, right? I'm trying to think, for Chopper, has he gotten anything that significant in the New World? Like, he's had moments of significance, right? Like, he was very helpful in Punk Hazard. And he got some character stuff in Punk Hazard. He was very helpful in Whole Cake Island. He had the Ice Oni thing in Wano, even though that had no character writing around it. It was still something helpful. And then even Zoe, like, that was an arc where he like saved the entire civilization. So Chopper's been very helpful in a lot of these arcs, right? He's been very helpful and impactful, actually. But he's not had any sort of character moments or character writing around any of this, which is why I think it would be really good if he gets something, you know? Because, like, I think Chopper's definitely played a bigger role in the New World than characters like Brooke or Robin, but Robin's interaction with, like, Black Maria and that whole, like, character writing around her accepting herself being a devil, that's still more substantial character writing than anything Chopper's gotten, right? Like, I'd say similar for Brooke and Whole Cake Island. So, Chopper is interesting because very impactful pretty consistently to the point that you have an arc like Zoe where Chopper saved the entire civilization, right? But still no character writing around him just yet. Jacob says, damn, Chopper's New World peak got off screen. Heaven says, why not give Chopper his flowers for what he did do in Wano with the medicine? No, I'm not arguing that Chopper has not been impactful. In fact, that's the thing. He's been impactful many times. Even before the Ice Oni, didn't he save all the prisoners in Udon? Right? So he's done it a couple times. I think he saved all the prisoners in Udon from what I recall. Right? He must have, right? Otherwise, did they just die from from the plague thing? Like, Chopper's been saving people and stuff. He's been super impactful and super helpful. I'm just asking for, can we get some character writing to go with this, you know? That's all. Hiyo, thanks for the 5. It's funny how Zoro impacted people's view of arcs. Like, some people thought Egghead would be a Zoe level arc rather than Zoe being a unique arc. Oh, I read Zoro instead of Zoe. Sorry. It's funny how Zoe impacted people's view of arcs. Yeah. I thought that Egghead would be a Zoe type arc when it started. Because Zoe was such a pleasant surprise. I think Zoe might have been the first arc since, I want to say, Reverse Mountain, where it was just an exposition arc and there was no actual action conflict. I think it's the first arc since Reverse Mountain. And it was a more extended and significant arc than Reverse Mountain was barely a couple chapters, so it almost doesn't stand out to people, but Zoe was really a big shift in that it was just the first time they were spending about 20-ish chapters in a single location. We're getting a full plot line and everything like that. But it turns out to just be exposition pretty much all the way through with like a certain plot twist and some sort of conflict, but not an actual conflict, right? And it's resolved without any action or fighting, right? That's the first time I think we've had that I can recall. So it was a change of pace, and it did shape people's minds in terms of like, okay, arcs can be like that, which means that we could hypothetically have shorter arcs, right? I still like Zoe a lot. Really a breath of fresh air after all the Dressrosa stuff. I also think it's just like, we got Zoe after Dressrosa, so I think, and like Dressrosa was a really big arc. So coming off Wano, I think a lot of people, again, myself included, did not expect another big arc, right? It's kind of like, okay, we'll probably get a short breather now. Egghead just seemed to fit the bill really well. Jolly D Joestar, thanks for the 2. He was Big Bro in Punk Hazard for the first time. I feel like Whole Cake is kind of being like the first time that Chopper really took like a leadership role. Because in Punk Hazard, he was like, he took a big brother role, but it was like to these little kids. In Whole Cake, it was cool because like he was paired with Carrot, who's like a competent character in her own right. But in this case, it's like finally Chopper's the one that's kind of like, because normally if you think pre-time skip, anytime it's Chopper and another character, Chopper's always treated as, he's the sidekick figure. Like, he's the little kid looking up to the other character, right? Even with Usopp, even though Chopper's stronger than Usopp, he still looks up to Usopp, right? I like the Chopper character dynamic for when we got in Whole Cake, because it was the first time we got to see, now Chopper, like, he's come a long way. Like, he's part of the Stride Pirates, you know? He's trained for 2 years, he's had a lot of experiences, gone up against a ton of strong enemies and stuff like that. And now you got Carrot, who's a brand new newbie to this whole thing, even though she's a strong fighter. She's now looking up to Chopper as, like, Big Bro Chopper. What are we doing? What's the plan? And he's strategizing. Like, Chopper strategized the whole plan of how to use the mirror. Like, Chopper doesn't get... Chopper in Whole Cake Island was a big deal. Like, he's overshadowed by all... He didn't get big moments. And that's a frustrating thing with Chopper. He's not getting moments or, like, character writing moments that are memorable. Like, he's not getting character writing. He is getting impact, though. In Whole Cake, their entire, like, survival tactic and the whole way they schemed and strategized and did all that shit using Brule. Like, they abused the shit out of Brule in the mirror world to accomplish the majority of their planned stuff leading up to the Tea Party. And that was entirely thanks to Chopper. He came up with that plan. He learned how to abuse the mirror world. He was able to save everybody by getting them into the mirror world, all that stuff. So Chopper gets all this stuff. He gets so much potential for like some character writing, but it doesn't happen. Amr, yes sir, thanks a lot. What if the moon ate Chopper's devil fruit? I don't know. That would be kind of crazy. That would be kind of like that'd be kind of like the Man on the Moon or Trip to the Moon or something like that. Like that film. The Water God, thanks a lot. Hey Morj, what do you think is the rank of the Straw Hats that need the most writing to least? Oh, that is a phenomenal question. Okay, the Straw Hats that need the most writing to the least. I think number one right now to me is probably Frankie. I think Frankie is what. Okay, that's a great question. That's a great question. One is Frankie. He needs it the most. Two is Brooke. Three is Jinbei or Robin. Or Chopper. Chopper's tricky because, again, Chopper's gotten so many highlight moments. It's just not the writing. I think and Oda might consider Chopper's Ice-Oni thing to have been good writing. Depends how you view the Ice-Oni thing. I think Jinbei could use some writing. I'm going to say definitely Frankie's number one and then Brooke's number two. For a long time, I think on Whole Cake Island's really just that's all there is for Brooke. So it's really just mainly banking on Whole Cake Island. That's just barely edging Brooke above Frankie. Then, so Frankie needs it the most, then Brooke. Then I think actually maybe it is Chopper. I don't know. It's either. I think Robin might be fine for a moment just because of what she got in Wano. So I'm gonna put Robin a little bit further down. And she got to cry a bit hearing about Saul and shit in Egghead for whatever that's worth. I'm gonna say it's either Chopper or Jinbei that needs some writing after. It's Frankie, then Brooke. Then either Chopper or Jinbei, then Robin, okay? After that, we get to the East Blue 5. Nami needs the writing the most out of the East Blue 5. Usopp has been pretty bad the last few arcs in terms of getting focus, but I still put him ahead of Nami because Dressrosa was so huge for Usopp, it's insane. Like, Dressrosa was so big for Usopp. It's like, Dressrosa had so much stuff for Usopp, it's just fucking nuts. Like, he had multiple moments of he had character growth with the whole Tontada Sugar situation, and then again, he had a whole different angle of character development with him accepting his role as a sniper to snipe Sugar later on. And then just the fact that he single-handedly is responsible for the creation of the entire Grand Fleet. He freed the entire nation of Dressrosa from Sugar's curse and everything like that. He literally ended the arc with a full fucking statue being built of him as a legendary hero. He went down as a god in that country. Like, Usopp and Dressrosa is so big that he's ahead of Nami, even though Nami's been done more between Whole Cake and Wano as of late. But Usopp and Dressrosa is just really big. Like, you could genuinely argue, I would argue that Usopp and Dressrosa is as significant as Zoro was in Wano. Like, Usopp to Dressrosa, like, neither of them are the level that Sanji, of character focus that Sanji had in Whole Cake Island, because that really was an arc that was really mainly about Sanji. But, like, Wano is an arc that you wouldn't say it was about Zoro, but Zoro played a huge role, to the point that you would say that he's, like, clearly the second most, like, by far, like, playing a small secondary hero type role in that arc, but not really significant, but like it's notable, right? A notable increased level of focus. That's what Usopp had in Dressrosa. Like Luffy, then Law, then Usopp. Those are the three most significant characters in Dressrosa. You know what I'm saying? Like they're the three primary heroes of that arc. So then Usopp's coming in at number 4. Then I'd say Zoro definitely needs some character writing. That's good for him. We're just coming off Wano, which is significant. And the thing about Zoro is that even in arcs where he doesn't get anything, Oda still gives him some scraps. You know what I mean? Like he didn't get anything of note in Egghead Island, but he still got to do some shit against Lucci and like defeat Lucci. And that's not character writing stuff, but it's like it's still better than what the rest of the Straw Hats got in terms, except maybe I don't know, Sanji got to do a lot too. But yeah, and then Sanji just got off Whole Cake Island, and he got really good character development in Wano as well. Arguably just as good as Whole Cake Island. Not as much time spent, but a significant. His best moment, in my opinion, was in Wano. His overall best character writing was in Whole Cake Island. And then, obviously, Luffy's number 1. So, final rankings. Sorry if that took a long time, but I thought that was an interesting question. Final rankings in terms of who needs the most character writing from top to bottom. It's Frankie, then Brook, then either Chopper or Jinbei, then Robin, then Nami, Usopp, Zoro, Sanji, Luffy. Oh, fuck. Is this a slideshow now? No, it's not a slideshow. Don't worry about it. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 150 because it's not a slideshow. All right, catching up here. Bun for Gun, thanks for the 10. What is wrong with Zoro's development in Wano? It felt like a natural progression from Thriller Bark, from Luffy's dream to his own to them being equal. King was like him in Thriller Bark, putting Kaido above his ambition. So that would be a fair discussion, if not for Act 1 and Act 2 of Wano. All of Zoro's development in the King fight, which is perfectly fine, if that was what was there on its own, it's extremely incongruent. If you go back and reread Wano, everything Zoro's doing in Act 1 and Act 2, the character writing that is being put in place there, the things that he's talking about, his motivations, his focus, sort of what you can kind of make out are like the sort of emotional journey that he's going through, and what you can kind of make out is maybe some of the avenues to development that Oda's kind of touching on, or the areas that Zoro needs to grow, etc. None of that is relevant to the King fight. You could in fact cut everything that happens in Act 1 and Act 2 of Wano, and the only thing that happens is like Zoro gets handed Enma, and then the King fight, like it takes nothing away from the King fight basically, and like the development that he has there. So essentially you could almost just not even have Zoro in Act 1 and Act 2 of Wano. All of the stuff that he did in Act 1, Act 2, Tokyo Dynamic, Yukimaru, Yasue, all of that can be actually removed, right? All of that can be removed. The only thing that needs to happen is like have a chapter that he picks up Enma, right? Because the only thing that matters is that he needs to be given a sword that sucks his haki, right? That's the only thing that seems to matter. And then you could throw him into the King fight, and then that's it. That's all that's his character writing there, right? So it's not so much that his character writing that happened right there is incongruent with what happened much earlier, right, in the story, like in earlier story arcs. It's that it's completely incongruent and almost makes a lot of the writing in Act 1, it's completely incongruent with Zoro's previous writing in the arc itself. It almost makes it irrelevant. The other thing I'd add is that while the development makes sense, which is just him getting Conqueror's Haki, that makes sense. The thing that I think is kind of weird is that the development. So if you compare Zoro's growth in the King fight, right? He kind of learned a lesson, right? Did I skip? I don't know. Here's the thing. So in the King fight, it's very similar to the Mr. One fight, in that Zoro's having flashbacks to a mentor who taught him something about swordsmanship that he has to put into place now, right? So, in the Mr. One fight, it made a lot of sense, what Zoro's kind of recalling, because Zoro's going with the mentality that, like, I need to cut steel, I need to push harder, fight harder, like, attack harder, cut harder, right? That's how Zoro's fought as a swordsman so far, and that's just like how he lives life. Like he just needs to keep pushing and pushing harder and harder, right? And the flashbacks that he's having are to teachings that kind of shift his perspective on swordsmanship in a way that's new and different than what he was already doing, right? It's about like the concept of cutting with will and intent, right? And him kind of realizing that, oh, okay, the sword that can not cut a piece of paper can also cut steel, right? He kind of realizes that that's when he gains the breadth of all things. That's when he first uses what many people now believe to have been haki for the first time. That's when he kind of matures as a swordsman, right? Because it makes sense, right? The character writing there makes sense because it's you already know what Zoro is like, and you see him have this realization about swordsmanship that we as a reader already knew that he did not have because he didn't think that way before this, right? He had to have a shift in his thinking. The king fight confused me because it's not really like the realization that Zoro essentially has in the king fight is that he needs to fight more. Like he's trying to remember, like how do I master this sword Enma, right? It's sucking all my haki. He's having these flashbacks, etc. And he has these flashbacks where he kind of learns about what you would call the Tsunachi mentality of just like be willing to throw yourself into death and like fight recklessly and don't be afraid of death and just give it your all, etc. Right? Here's the thing. Zoro's never had that problem ever in all of One Piece. If anything, he's always been that extreme, right? He's all like from his fucking first fight with Mihawk to like where he's like recklessly killing himself for the sake of his dream and refusing to back down to like all of his fights throughout the story since then, right? That's just Zoro's already done that. So it was kind of weird to see like it's not like yeah, he had it didn't feel like a very effective writing to me because it's like yeah, he's getting all these flashbacks to recall all these lessons to realize how he needs to approach Enma, but it doesn't feel like any sort of growth to me because I feel like Zoro before and after that fight is exactly the same as a swordsman because the issue that he kind of like the lesson that he kind of learns is something that we never felt that like it never felt like Zoro was lacking that initially as a character, right? That's almost like if Luffy had to have some sort of lesson on like, oh, how do I unlock the next level of haki? Oh, I need to think more freely. It's like, no, Luffy's always been the definition of freedom. Like, that's never been an area of growth that we've ever considered for the character. Like, oh, yeah, you know, Luffy's area that he needs to progress in is learning to think more freely. You get what I'm saying? Like, so that's why I never felt like the King fight, at least in that level of character development, it made much sense for Zoro because it's like, he's always fought like that as a swordsman in the first place. It feels kind of weird for Oda to basically say, oh, the lesson he had to learn in this fight was to fight with greater sense of like disregard for his own safety or his own like playing the line between life and death, etc. Because that's how I would already have defined him as a swordsman, like, and how he would have defined himself as a swordsman and how he's talked and acted, etc. throughout the story. So it's very different from the Mr. One fight in that the Mr. One fight, you can see a difference between like how he used to think versus the change in perspective that he had. I don't see any sort of change in perspective that really makes sense there. Anyway. See what I'm saying? Blake says, I tried to cut off his own legs, Zoro's insane lol. Yeah, that's my thing. I'm just like, it feel like, if you compare real quick to like Sanji and Queen, right? Like that's a fight where you can kind of, or like Sanji calling for help for Robin, right? Like that's an area that, yeah, we're seeing character development because Sanji wasn't like this before. He learned some lessons and then he's different afterwards. The Zoro fight's not like that. It's kind of like the fight feels almost like a lie because it's basically saying that Zoro needed to grow in a way that it's like pretending that Zoro wasn't already like this in order for the fight to work that way to me. Jacob, welcome. Thank you very much for joining. Feel free to use your new emojis and such in the chat. Matt says, Morj, don't skip my member chat. Of course I'm not going to, Matt, although I might have accidentally. Let me see if I can find it. Sorry. Hold on. Fuck. Hold on, Matt. Oh, Matt, thanks for being a part. Oh, shit. Sorry. Thank you for being a part King Tier member for 6 months, man. I hope Chopper is out there somewhere wondering why the Giants are calling him the Horn God. R.I.P. Ear God, BTW. Chopper, the Horn God. If he's in Monster Point form, I could see them calling him that. If he's in Monster Point form. When was the last time we saw fucking Horn Point Chopper? Does he use his other point? Okay, no. Guard point he still uses. Kung Fu point he still uses. Monster point, obviously. Heavy point. I think it's just Horn point that's kind of gone away, right? Stephen Guy, thanks for the 5. The animals are being looked at as gods. Chopper might be being worshipped. Oh, shit. Like, on top of that. Yeah, same thing as Matt. I also think Chopper can also prove himself to be brave, like in Long Ring. So, if there is a Davy backfight in this arc, as people are kind of thinking, as I've long believed, then yeah, I think that there's potential again for Chopper to maybe get something. Because last time he didn't get to participate in the Davy backfight. I would love to see something for him in this arc, because like some sort of redemption for not being able to help the last time around. I'd love to see that. And if it goes to bravery or showcases his growth, that would be phenomenal as well. I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that this arc, because Egghead was such a side character-centric arc, and even Wano was really a side character-centric arc, I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that this arc for the Straw Hats is really, really Straw Hat-centric. Because I'm just like, outside of Loki, what other island citizens, I guess you don't know till you find out, right? But like, how many other island citizens are there really that the Straw Hats that are really going to become major characters here? I don't know. Isis1155, welcome to the Yonko. I feel like this isn't your first time. Thank you for joining. I might be wrong, but I appreciate it. Thank you. And watch out for the podcast, the Patreon podcast I'm going to record tomorrow, so watch out for that. Horn point is best. Jump point. Wait, is jump point different for him now? Because right now he has his normal little point, right? Then he has heavy point, walking point, right? So those 3, right? Then he should have guard point, horn point, kung fu point, and monster point. So that's 7. So I guess jumping point is gone. Jumping point was cool though. Jumping point was cool. I think jumping point became less used. No, jumping point was cool. Jumping point was used. I miss when Chopper cycled through transformations for his fights. Now it's mostly just monster point. Jolly D. Joestar, thanks for the 5. Roof Beast should have never changed, and Sanji and Marco should have handled King and Queen, in my opinion. I don't know about that, man. I think because Zoro needs a 1v1, right? Zoro needed a 1v1. I think Oda's not going to write an arc where like Zoro doesn't get his own 1v1 win. Yeah, I don't know. I think that was just needed. Zoro gets his 1v1, Sanji gets his 1v1. Like, if you're a Zoro fan, it's the best of both worlds, right? He goes upstairs, he scars Kaido, goes downstairs, gets a 1v1 with King, and defeats him. It's a win-win. What more could he ask for? Bunfagum, thank you for the 10. The point is that he's tapping into his old style, one that he had when he only cared about his ambition. He cared less about his ambition, but realized that he has to become the world's strongest swordsman to make Luffy Pirate King. I just disagree, because like that's not tapping into his own. He's been doing this all along. Like, he's always fought recklessly like that, even after he realized that he's like I don't understand. Like, you can go back to the Kuma fight itself, and like Zoro's fighting recklessly against Kuma, and the Straw Hats are talking about it, and Zoro's basically just like, Zoro literally goes into the fight like they're saying like, oh Zoro, if you're trying to fight like this, like you might die. He's like, if I die here, that just means that's my limit as a man. Zoro at no point abandoned that style of fighting. He has always fought like that. Like, he's always fought like going all in, always ready to fully sacrifice himself, etc. Zoro, by the way, at that point in the Kuma fight, he already knew that like he's putting Luffy's ambition above his own. That was what he said to Kuma right after that. He'd come around to that some time back. I don't think Zoro ever abandoned that. He's always been like, need to go all in, need to basically just like, it's all or nothing. I'm just gonna kill myself. Like fighting, blah 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 blah. That's his thing. He didn't grow in any new way in the King fight. It almost was just like a aha moment that felt very redundant to his character, because he's just been like that from day one. So I disagree with that interpretation, because I think it's contradicted by the actual events of the story. Aslan, thanks for the 20. Hey Morj, not sure if you remember me, but of course I remember the name. Yeah. but I used to tune in your streams a lot back in 2021. Honestly, I thought it was more recent. I started watching you when I was 13, and now I'm in uni. I don't read One Piece anymore, but you helped me fall in love with it. Thanks. Oh, that's awesome. That's good to hear, man. I'm happy to hear that. I don't know. I'm I'm happy to hear that. What do you call it? Because I know sometimes I can be also critical of the story, but I'm also like, it's always so good to remember that I think in general I do help a lot of people gain some new appreciation or perspective on certain things in One Piece. So that's good to hear that it helped you become a bigger fan of the story. Shaman says, Morj, you become homeless? You've been in a random location for the past few streams. If I was homeless, I wouldn't be indoors. I'd be outdoors, right? But no, what's happened is basically a little bit of an extended trip. My family home is in Maryland. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm visiting them. I've been out from my normal location for the past 2-ish weeks. So started with visiting them. Then me and my family took a little trip to Iceland. So the last couple streams have been in Iceland in a hotel. Now back to my family home in Maryland. And now next stream on Monday, I'll be back to my usual location where I normally live. JWP, thank you for the 10. Was rewatching old episodes and I'm coming around to a hot take that Whole Cake Island is the best post-time skip arc so far. I'm expecting Elbaf to surpass Whole Cake Island though. You think that we as fans have too high expectations for Elbaf? Okay, so my thoughts are this. I also, it's tricky in that, like, so writing next Tuesday's video, I was reminded of something, which is that Whole Cake Island has the best writing for the Straw Hats, right? It's weird to say because it's only half the Straw Hat crew, but I'm saying for the Straw Hats that are there, it is the best and most consistent focus on the Straw Hat crew. It's very similar to pre-time skips writing and approach to writing the Straw Hats, right? I really enjoyed the character writing of Whole Cake Island a lot because it was very tightly focused and so on. I think the plot got a little messy towards the end, and that was frustrating for some people. For me, it's a mixed bag. I enjoyed lots of aspects of it, and then maybe like in other ways, I acknowledge the critiques that people have for it. So Whole Cake Island, I think, is a really strong story. Egghead is tricky because I view Egghead in a really positive light for what it did for this. I think it was the best arc in terms of side character writing. It did so much using the world of One Piece, had so many exciting plot twists and reveals. I think similar to Whole Cake Island, the ending is a little bit mixed. Not mixed, but the climax feels a little bit wobbly. I think I don't know. I think Egghead was the arc that made me most excited for New World, like in the New World in general, like reading it week to week. I think it was the arc that made me most excited in the New World week to week. It had the highest dramatic and emotional moments for me. So I think I still put Egghead a bit above, but then I think Whole Cake is more structured like it should. I could definitely see Whole Cake, like, in some regards, being the best post-time skip arc. As for Elbaf and expectations of Elbaf, Oda has been building up Elbaf and mentioning Elbaf repeatedly for, 1,000 chapters now? Literally? Like, literally 1,000 chapters, I think? I don't think I'm exaggerating, right? Little Garden was 1,000 chapters ago, right? So, no, I don't think fans have the wrong expectations for Elbaf. Elbaf has been built up forever. It's the same way that like Wano is talked about in the story forever. So no, fans aren't wrong to expect great things from Wano. I also think though that Elbaf has lower expectations for plot-wise what it's supposed to be than Wano among readers. So among readers, I remember that the expectations for Wano were getting really extreme. And I'm part of that as well. But going into Wano, there was lots of discussions that just because we had a clearer idea of what the plot of Wano was supposed to be, right? With Elbaf, we actually still don't have an idea what the plot of Elbaf is supposed to be. So that's a big difference. In that Elbaf, we are excited, like we the readers have high expectations for the quality and significance of the arc because Oda has mentioned it for so long. But where it differs from Wano is that in Wano, we also had lots of expectations for quality and significance because Oda had mentioned it so much. But with Wano, Oda had also made a lot more clear what the plot threads leading up to Wano were. So we were understanding that, the smile fruits are leading to Doflamingo doing these smile fruits that are leading to Kaido. We have to defeat Kaido and Wano, right? Like Kaido's gonna be the big bad of Wano. Then on top of that, we're being made to understand that like Kinemon, the Kazuki, etc. There's a situation going on with the samurai that's tying back to Wano. And then we're being made to understand that there's a road poneglyph to be had in Wano. We know that Kid and them have been defeated by Kaido earlier, and that Kid seems to be in jail with Kaido, so we're expecting Kid to be in Wano, right? We know that Law is part of this plan to go take down Kaido and Wano, so like, we see a lot more plot threads, so that's slowly built, and the Marines and such are talking about Wano quite a bit leading up to it. So we had a much larger picture of what was going to go on in Wano beforehand, and certain statements like Zoro talking about how he's going to round up samurai and stuff like that, and people expecting Wano to be country of swordsmen, therefore significant to Zoro. So like, there's so many things that we understood. We generally had the idea going into it that Wano is going to be, it's going to be a nation that was conquered by the Beast Pirates, controlled by the Beast Pirates. We're going to have to defeat Kaido there. It's going to involve Kazuki, the Momonosuke, the Kazuki clan, etc., some sort of rebellion. It's going to involve a road poneglyph. It's going to involve Supernova, because we know that Kid, Hawkins, and Apu and such were defeated and captured by Kaido, etc. So, and we have reason to believe, like a lot of people believe, that the Marines are set to conglomerate there because they're talking about Wano. So Wano, we had a lot more established plot threads leading up to it. So we had a clearer picture, and that led to lots of expectations, because once you have a picture of something going on, it's like, okay, we know some Supernova are in Wano. That kind of led to a lot of people believing things like all the Supernova are going to make it there in Wano, which never happened. That was expecting too much. Some people believe that Gecko Moria should be there in Wano because he's popping up again, and we heard that he took on Kaido in the past and stuff. Like, there's a lot of people thought the Marines should be making their way to Wano. I thought that the Marines are going to make their way to Wano, right? Because the Marines were talking about Wano so much. So Wano ended up having a lot of plot expectations. I think the cool thing about Elbaf is that while we have a lot of expectations that this should be a great and important arc in One Piece, because Oda has mentioned it so much over the course of the story for thousands of chapters and built it up in our minds as being very important, right? Elbaf has very few plot expectations, right? So we have high expectations for how good it should be, which are fair because Oda has suggested over and over that this is going to be a big one, it's going to be an important one, but we really don't know what's supposed to happen in it because there's just not much plot set up whatsoever to Elbaf, right? They weren't even going to fucking go to Elbaf. Like, they picked islands, they went to Egghead instead, and then the party got crashed by the Marines and stuff, and then they got picked up by the Giants to take them to Elbaf kind of out of the blue. There's nothing set up for Elbaf before, right? Like, Shanks was there, right? Shanks and the Red-Haired Pirates left. A lot of people expect that they will come back, including myself. So something with the Strats and the Red-Haired Pirates, that could happen there. Kid is potentially still there, right? Potentially still relevant. But he doesn't have to be. Like, I don't think people would be terribly disappointed if Kid never shows up again in the story because people don't fucking like him. So Elbaf, it's kind of pure in a way in that, like, we're all really excited for it. We have high expectations for how good it's supposed to be, but it's not burdened by the weight of expectations in terms of what needs to happen in it. I think the only thing that people really demand happens in Elbaf, and this is the only thing, right? There's only one plot line or, like, story element that we feel needs to happen in Elbaf, which is Usopp needs to be important. That's all people really fucking want. And that's fair, because Oda's fucking said a million times over that Usopp and Elbaf, that they're like this. That's his thing, right? It's supposed to happen in Elbaf, right? So that's what I think is really exciting about Elbaf, which is just a lot of optimism towards it. There was a lot of optimism heading into Wano too, right? And for a lot of people, it delivered, right? But the difference was that Wano, a lot of optimism and excitement heading towards it, but at the same time, so many predetermined expectations of what needs to happen in it, right? By readers, because we already were aware of so many plot lines. Elbaf is more like this pure blank slate in that a lot of optimism heading into it, a lot of excitement for how good and how important it's supposed to be, but we don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. Like, it's just a pure, unadulterated, just clean One Piece arc. I think that's one thing I really like about this final saga so far, which is like, we don't really know, like, a lot of what is supposed to happen in these storylines. I feel like heading into Dressrosa, we had a good idea about shit because it was like, Doflamingo, he's doing some smile trade that is, like, a lot is set up beforehand, right? We know the villain's going to be Doflamingo. We know that he's involved in some trade, some smile trade with Kaido, so that we're going there to try and fuck up, Kaido's business and everything like that, and this is a halfway point to Kaido, and we know that it's going to involve, basically, Doflamingo deciding to quit the Shichibukai, stay with the Shichibukai, stuff like that. We have certain expectations. We kind of know the crux of what might happen in Dressrosa, right? And we understand that there's some revenge plot between Law and Doflamingo or something, right? So we kind of understand the crux of it heading in. Wano, we knew a lot of pieces, as I already said, like a lot of pieces of what the plot's supposed to be about. We know it's supposed to be about rebellion going in. We know kind of the parties involved. We know what's at stake. We know the villain. We know all that stuff, right? Elbaf, we don't know jack shit. Egghead, we didn't know jack shit. We showed up to Egghead. A lot of people, as we talked about earlier in the stream, thought it was going to be like Zoe. We did not know, maybe a quick exposition arc or something like that. Did not know jack shit about Egghead. That's what made it such an exciting arc. Anything could happen. Not a single person in the world would have predicted the events of Egghead. Like, nobody. Like, an arc that starts with the Strides meeting Vegapunk, that spirals into a Buster Call with Kizaru being called in, and then fighting all 5 Gorosei, and concluding with Vegapunk giving a speech to the entire world and every major character and nation and faction that we know of, revealing the secrets of like the One Piece world being under the sea and that the entire planet's gonna flood and everything like that. And then concluding with Joy Boy's Haki defeating the Gorosei thanks to an ancient robot. Like, the plot of Egghead was just so out of the blue, right? And the Elbaf Giants coming to save him, right? So Elbaf, I think, is similar in that we just don't know what's going to happen. Blackbeard could be there. Blackbeard could not be there, right? Holy Knights could show up there. Holy Knights could not show up there. Red-haired pirates could be there. Maybe, maybe not. I think they will, but, maybe, maybe not. Kid? Maybe, maybe not. Fucking Law could show up there. We don't know. Cross Guild? Who knows? Anything. And it's just this beautiful blank slate. All right. The Water God. Thanks a lot. Yo, I know you made a whole video on this, but do you think that this arc will be the final growth for Usopp, confronting Usopp, for example, or a setup for him to shine in the final war? I think that this arc... Here's the thing. I think that Usopp will come away from this arc feeling that he is a brave warrior of the sea. So whatever hurdle he needs to overcome to achieve that, and I personally think that involves fear of death, based on the things that he was talking about in Wano that went unresolved, he needs to come away from it feeling like he's a brave warrior of the sea. Reason being... that's what Usopp talks about in Little Garden. It's just like, it's not word for word this, but it's essentially, I want to eventually one day be able to go to Elbaf and feel like I'm a brave warrior of the sea, like those giants, right? If he leaves this arc without feeling like at this point he still feels like he's not a brave warrior of the sea like the giants, then it would be really weird, in my opinion. So is it the last point of growth? I don't know. Maybe there's some more extra way for him to grow beyond that. But I think feeling like he's become a brave warrior of the sea and overcoming a fear of death, I think that's the last major step to at least achieving his shifting of his own self-esteem and sense of self-worth. Because the reality is, if you want to ask like which Stride has achieved their dream already, or like will achieve their dream first, it's Usopp. Usopp has already achieved his dream. He achieved his dream a long, long, long time ago. He's been a brave warrior of the sea for a long, long, long time. If we redefine his dream as being Usopp considers himself to be a brave warrior of the sea, well, that's something that I think Elbaf should be able to close for him, because he kind of clarified that Elbaf is the testing ground for himself in terms of, like all the way back in Little Garden, that he wants to be as brave as the giants, right? Amar, yes sir, thanks a lot. Do you think Shanks' core crew has no devil fruits? I think it's very possible that it's a core crew with no devil fruits. I think that now that it kind of feels like Shanks probably doesn't have one, Yasop probably doesn't have one, Ben Beckman doesn't have one. I think it'd be kind of cool if that's just the whole crew's vibe, because the different crews, they have different themes and concepts around them, right? Like Big Mom had a lot of either very fantastical fruits like Monteore's book fruit, or Brulee's like mirror fruit, or food-based fruits, right? So like Katakuri, Cracker, Perospero, stuff like that, right? So that was Big Mom's theme. Food and also some Alice in Wonderland fantasy stuff, right? Then on the flip side, you have Kaido, he had a Zoan theme. And then you got Shanks, which is, I think, hockey-based, right? Yeah, I think that those kind of fit. Obviously, the Blackbeard Pirates, they've got their own variety of fruits. Whitebeard Pirates, variety of fruits. But Shanks' crude feels like a theme is starting to develop. Umir, thanks for the 2. Can you delay top 30 to next week or later time Monday? Shoot. So I feel like it would be unfair for me to do top 30 at a time that maybe a lot of people can't make it. So let me think hard on the Monday stream. The main thing is that I predict that I will have difficulty doing a really good stream in the nighttime that Monday just because I might be a little exhausted. So doing it during the day when I'm full of energy, I think will make for a better stream. At the same time, I think I should do a top 30 stream at the time that I think everybody's available to do it, like my usual viewers, like my usual viewer base. So I'll consider that strongly. I think maybe we will bump top 30 a little bit later. Just because, yeah, I don't want to do like a noon stream for top 30 and then like most of the usual stream viewers can't see it. I feel like that'd be kind of unfair. Isis1155, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 13 months, man. I've been Yonko level for a while, lol. That's what I mean. I swear, like, I don't know. You've been a name that's like, like there for quite some time. Do you think that Usopp will ever use an actual gun? Seeing Yasopp's power, the pop green's just underwhelming in my opinion. I don't think Usopp will ever use an actual gun. I think it's kind of deliberate that Usopp, he uses something unorthodox. So I think he's just always supposed to feel like a bit of a underdog. So not having extremely powerful firepower, I think, falls into that. Because, like, you compare to Nami, and Nami, like, Usopp, like, I talked about this earlier in the stream, but Usopp's floor is the lowest of the Straw Hats, right? When he's not, like, when he doesn't have his shit together. Even Nami has a higher floor just because she automatically has crazy high firepower with Zeus, right? And lightning in the past in general. So I think it fits Usopp's underdog role and just the fact that he really has to, like, he can't out firepower people. I think that's important. He cannot just out firepower people. He has to think of some complicated strategy using pop greens and like versatile abilities to basically beat people. Aslan, thanks for the 2. Did Long Ring Island have more stakes than Wano? No, Wano had more stakes than Long Ring. I'm come on now. I never go that far. Come on now. Bunfagum, thanks for the 5. Morj, Zoro was holding back all of post time skip, only going all out on Wano. Asha was just the start of him tapping into his old style. King of Hell was the payoff. I agree with that from a power scaling perspective, but I assume that, like, how do I say this? I assume that you're still acknowledging, like, pre-time skip, wherein Zoro did go all out all the time, right? Just because Zoro was holding back for a lot of post-time skip, that doesn't change the fact that, like, that's just because, not even holding back, that's just because he was never challenged, That's different from, like, trying to kill himself every fight, Because it's not like he even does that, because by that logic, if that's supposed to be growth, that, Zoro learned that he's supposed to be just, like, going all out trying to kill himself every fight, then where was that during Lucci? Like, he just went huff, huff, puff, puff for like an hour against that dude. So in that case, did the Wano lesson not mean anything? Did it not stick? To me, the reality is that it's not a lesson because it was never a lesson because it wasn't something new that he had to learn. He always has been willing to kill himself in any fight. Just because he didn't need to do that against Pika because it was so easy for him doesn't mean that he should have been trying to kill himself against Pika, If the only lesson that seemed to be drilled in was that he should be willing to fight recklessly and kill himself in a fight if it goes to that level of difficulty, but it still needs to get to that level of difficulty, Like, it's not like Mihawk's trying to fight Don Krieg and, like, it's just like, oh, I need to go all out, use everything. If anything, it's like, oh, don't hunt rabbits with a cannon, That's kind of the messaging that sticks there. If it's the willingness to die fighting, Zoro's always had that, and he's always worn that on his sleeve. So the fight didn't really teach anything. Duck20, thanks for the 5. I think the Elbaf Sun God is going to capture Luffy and it'll be up to Usopp to save him. Don't know how this Sun God's gonna capture Luffy, because Luffy's pretty fucking hard to capture nowadays. Have to be some serious trickery. Serious trickery. Alright, guys. I'm probably gonna call it in the next couple minutes. Bunfagum says Lucci's just strong. Yeah, but Zoro wasn't using Advanced Conqueror's Haki from the get-go, right? Wouldn't that have been the lesson? Use King of Hell from the get-go or something? Wouldn't that be the lesson from the King fight, if that's what it's really about? To me, the King fight was just basically reiterating the lesson that you need to be willing to die and fight recklessly if you really need to win or whatever, right? But Zoro's always known that when it comes to extreme difficulty fights, Zoro's always willing to die for those fights. So it's not a new lesson, in my opinion. The one says, more, just say Zoro already has the perfect character development. I think Oda needs to find a new way to develop Zoro. One thing I was excited about for the Wano arc was potentially Zoro having to grow in terms of leadership, because Zoro is a good leader when Luffy's not around in a sense, but he's never really had to lead other characters or anything. So just the prospect of like, oh, I'll round up the samurai or something, that's a solid plot line, That's a solid potential plot line. But that didn't end up really factoring into the Wano storyline whatsoever. Instead, it just felt like it cut anything that was kind of developing between Act 1 and Act 2, and then just went to a lesson of like, well, Zoro, you need to be ready to die for winning a fight. And it's like, dude, Zoro's always ready to die to win a fight. It's just like, this isn't a new thing. Tom, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 24 months. You may not be the best person to ask, but how do you deal with procrastination? It's a huge problem for me. Love the vids, and I hope to make first video soon. So, I think I am a good person to ask, because I think the worst people to ask are people who are not good, who don't have a problem with procrastination. People who don't have problems with procrastination are not good at sharing advice on how to deal with procrastination. Over the years, I still have problems with procrastination, but over the years have gotten significantly better at it. So, some of the things that work. Wait, let me just make sure my alarm doesn't go off again. 1 second. I was about to say alarms, and then I just reminded myself that I have an alarm that is set to go off shortly. So some of the things that work, okay? You need to... to start with, everybody has procrastination for different reasons, right? So you need to be good at identifying what's the thing that usually gets you, what trips you up a lot, right? So some of the things that I identified for myself is if I have how do I say this? If I have one really, really big task and then a lot of really, really small tasks, I can struggle getting to that really, really big task because it just feels daunting to get through all those small tasks first, right? Scheduling helps a lot if you can schedule out different times to deal with small tasks versus the big task. But one thing that really, really helps, and this is psychologically proven to be true, is for people who have procrastination, you should order your tasks first in terms of easiest to hardest to accomplish. Because for people who have procrastination, if you can start with just doing the smallest task first, and it's like, oh, that's easy, right? Just send an email or something, right? And then you do the next thing, which is like, I don't know, write outline for a script or something, right? Like, if you do your task in order of smallest task to hardest task, what happens for people that procrastinate is as they start doing the small tasks, which are easy, they start getting on a bit of a roll where they start feeling momentum, and then you start getting in a mode of wanting to continue checking off items on your list, and you just build momentum that way. Because usually for people that procrastinate, the hardest part is starting, right? The hardest part is starting. So you want to make that activation energy of like beginning the process of working the lowest barrier possible. So start with the smallest thing and just line it up so that you're going smallest to hardest. So the first thing that you should do, and I recommend doing this the night before. Do this the night before. List your tasks that you have to do from easiest to hardest, and then you'll be able to wake up the next day and do it like that. The second thing is, let's say you don't have a ton of tasks to do. Let's say you just have to do one task, like let's say write a script, right? And it's a big task. What you should do is the night before, go to your laptop, close all distractions. Have no other tabs open or anything like that. And open up the tab that is your document that you're supposed to work on. Okay? In general, if you feel like procrastinating, like you don't want to do this thing, right? Your brain is subconsciously looking for any other distraction to take your mind off the big thing that you have to do, and you'll tell yourself just a couple minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, basically, like, and then I'll get to it, right? Reality is you can go down rabbit holes. You want to give yourself as much of a tunnel, like a sort of tunnel vision focus on just that thing. So eliminating all the other distractions first, do that the night before so that when you wake up the next day, you open up your laptop, you already have that script document open, and you don't have any other tabs open, you don't have anything else running in the background or anything like that, you just have that. You're much less likely to then go out of your way to open a tab and go to YouTube or Reddit or whatever the fuck that you want to go to or somewhere, because it's like an additional step. Versus if you're opening up your laptop and you got like a million tabs open and like some are funny videos or some interesting posts and stuff, you're going to browse those and then eventually never get to your actual task, So those are the simple things that I've learned over time. Black Lightning, thanks for the 5. If y'all argument for Shanks being stronger is his haki, why do you all say Zoro and Sanji are close when he has massively weaker haki? I think that a lot of people view Sanji as a bit of an exception because because he doesn't have the haki route, he instead has something different, which is the technology route, right? So he's modified to be extremely strong despite not having the haki. I doubt Sanji will ever be as strong as like the tippy top tier haki users, but the point is kind of that, like, I think Sanji right now is significantly stronger than a lot of characters who have better like armament haki than him because he has been modified in a way like it's just genetically engineered to be like a special weapon, basically, right? So, there's ways around that, right? At the end of the day, I do think haki is the most important thing. As for how close Zoro and Sanji are, I don't want to get into that debate. I'm just explaining why, why there's an argument for Sanji being. Some people thinking Sanji's not that far off. Some people thinking Sanji is that far off. The argument is based around him being an exception in that he is not a normal human being. Oh, fuck. Not taking some time to... Yeah, time to load. Okay. Alright, we're almost there. Zenith! Thank you very much. It's a shame how double meanings get lost in translation. For example, when Shanks gives the straw to Luffy, give it back can mean turned upside down and I left everything there. Can mean I left it at the bottom or I left it nearby. Oh, shit. Turn it upside down, kind of like turn the world upside down. I left everything can mean I left it at the bottom or I left it nearby. Oh my god. That's really interesting. Yeah, I guess that there's some things in translations just that can't be communicated. And the really difficult thing is like the translator for One Piece was really not good for all of pre-time skip, so there's like a double problem with that, Shit. And then the translator I don't think has access to like Oda directly, I'm not sure, so they can't know if Oda wants to include some additional meaning there. Yeah, it's just the way language works. Amr Yasser, thanks a lot. How do you think Buggy's arc will play out? I think that Buggy... I really don't know. I think that Buggy will turn out to be significant and have like a really good character moment. And maybe like even a bit of redemption in some sense by the end of this. But I think he's one of the hardest characters to predict right now because I think Cross Guild is probably the hardest group to predict, period. Other groups you can kind of guess, like, it's hard to predict how long they'll last in the story, but you can kind of predict, like, Blackbeard Pirates will lose to the Straw Pirates at some point. The Red-Haired Pirates will probably lose to the Blackbeard Pirates at some point, Cross Guild, I don't fucking know. So I like to think that Buggy will have a really good moment of redemption and maybe some sort of, like, something connecting him with Shanks or something like that at the end, but that's about all I got. Alright, this is going to be the last super, and then I'm going to call it here. Isaiah Davis, thank you for the 10. How do you feel about Dory and Brogy being opponents for Zoro and Sanji during the Davy backfight? Giants having advanced Conqueror's haki as Sanji feeling like dead weight. Character development between Zoro and Sanji. I don't know if Oda's ever going to, like, delve into, like, Sanji not having Conqueror's haki, advanced Conqueror's haki as, like, a character thing for him. that feels a little not One Piece to me in terms of characters debating their power-ups and such. It's something that comes up when villains are like Luffy's fighting an opponent, like Luffy's fighting Katakuri, and it's like, oh shit, you have future sight and I don't. But I don't think like Luffy and Zoro have ever even talked about like fucking Rio or hockey or armament hockey or something. I think the most that's ever happened is like Zoro acknowledging that Luffy has Conqueror's Haki, right? I don't think Zoro's even talked to Luffy like, I can coat with Advanced Conqueror's Haki too, or something like that, you know? Like, it just feels very not One Piece. They really don't talk about the technicalities of what they can and can't do like that, you know? So I don't know about that. I don't know if the Giants have Advanced Conqueror's Haki either. I think they're just strong. That's how they could do Elbaf cannons and stuff. I don't think they have Advanced Conqueror's Haki, as far as I can tell. But I also don't know why Dorian Brogy would be Davy Backfight opponents because they're not pirates. So overall, I don't think that's the case. But the idea of Zoro and Sanji fighting Dorian Brogy is kind of cool because it throws back to Little Garden where Zoro and Sanji's little rivalry paralleled Dorian Brogy's rivalry. At least for the purposes of that arc. I know that's a touchy subject for some people. So seeing them come so far and now being able to take on Dorian Brogy themselves, that'd be kind of cool. Honestly, I think Zoro and Sanji are above Dorian Brogy, so, you know, it's maybe not needed, but it's an interesting idea. Alright, guys. I am going to call... Oh, fuck. Alright, Amber Yasser last one. I bet Buggy will learn to accept he's not that guy. I think Buggy knows he's not that guy. I think Buggy's well aware he's not that guy. Buggy himself, literally, in the flashback that we got with him and Shanks, he was saying that he thought that Shanks would be the next great pirate of the next generation who would find the One Piece and stuff like that. So Buggy knows he's not that guy inside. I think that's the beauty of the character, that, like, even though he knows he's not that guy, he's gonna try and shoot for it anyway. You know? So I don't think that's the growth that he needs. I think he wouldn't mind not getting the One Piece because it's just such a ridiculous dream to him. But, like, he's gonna try anyway, and that's kind of the beauty of his character. Umir, thanks to the 5-man. I just wanted to thank you for considering my message. You've always been the GOAT to... What are your thoughts on My Hero Academia, Black Clover, and One Punch Man? I just started My Hero. Okay, last one for real. And I know what you mean, man. Like, maybe I was being kind of lazy with just being like... Because I want to do the top 30 stream soon. I feel like now's a really good time to do it. But doing it too early on a Monday when a lot of regular viewers wouldn't be able to view it, I think just because I'd be tired that day... I think would not be a good idea. So either on Monday I'll push through and try and do top 30 in the evening, or I'll do a different stream topic and it'll be at noon. As for each of those three, so My Hero is just not my thing. I don't think it's ever been my thing. I think it has really good moments and scenes, and it has like some really like cool feel good shonen type scenes, like a certain All Might versus someone battle that happens. A certain fight with Lemillion that happens. It has some really, really good, powerful shonen type scenes, in my opinion. Let me bump the alarm one more time. So it is. I like the series. I definitely like this. No, I don't like the series that much. I think for me with the thing. I think the thing for me with My Hero is that I felt that the themes and ideas were just a bit too simple and shallow, I think. And then on top of that, I did not care for the characters overall. So, like, usually you need to connect with or really enjoy some characters. I didn't really like the characters that much. And I don't really like the power system. I don't find quirks to be that cool of a power system to me. So it was a few factors, right? Now, Black Clover, I really enjoy. Because even if, like, the themes and stuff are not that complex for Black Clover, the difference is that Black Clover, the main cast, the Black Bulls, they give me Straw Hat vibes in terms of it's a cast where every character gets significant development and they get significant character arcs. I like the group dynamic quite a bit. I feel like sometimes you can just really enjoy the way that, like, casts and characters bounce off each other, the comedy, the dynamics, even if it's not that deep in Black Clover. The biggest thing that I can say that the author does, which he does better than Oda does at this point in the story. And it's the only thing that he does better, because Oda does everything else better. But it's the one thing that I wish One Piece kept doing, is that the author genuinely... It's like a large cast, like the Black Bulls. The author genuinely attempts to develop all of the Black Bulls consistently throughout the story. So each arc, maybe not every one of them is getting development like as each storyline goes, but like as you go later in the story, you can see that like, oh shit, with Noel, like he had character, like significant character development planned for this arc, through this arc, through this arc, through this arc, such that like you can see like the full trajectory for this character's arc, for this character's development all the way across, and like what stage is she supposed to be at here, then here, then here, then here. And Noel's like a main character, so it's like, okay, that's not a huge deal. But then you get down to someone like Magna, and even Magna, it's like, okay, he has a trajectory for where the character's supposed to get to, and you can see the development here, and then here, and then here. Or like Luck, it's like you just see the author really having long-term intentional character development planned out for a large cast. And again, it's never that deep or anything like that, but it's still doing something for the characters. Noel, I would say, is actually really good. But it's still doing something for the characters in terms of development across many, many arcs, which I really don't think I've seen a shonen do that with a large ensemble cast like that, except for Black Clover. One Piece used to be really... It felt like the way pre-time skip One Piece was written for the Straw Hats. Post-time skip, it's just like... Frankie can go like 8 arcs in the New World and not change one iota. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a thing in Black Clover, right? Again, the character writing's not as deep or emotionally powerful as One Piece, right? But it's the actual effort and change that you see in the characters that feels good, right? It feels like... I think Black Clover is the only shonen I can think of that it works with large ensembles, and I genuinely feel like the author is trying to think of something for all of the characters in his ensemble, arc to arc, right? Not literally all, but like over the course of a few arcs, he's trying to develop all his characters some steps forward, right? And it goes beyond the Black Bulls, because it goes to like the other Magic Knights as well. Like, if you have a span of like 3-4 arcs, the author, like every character will have developed in some way by the end of those arcs, right? Maybe not each character, each arc, but you get what I'm saying. Like in a given span of time, he's doing something for all those characters to some degree across those arcs. I think that's really hard to do. I think that's genuinely really, really hard to do. I think that that's pretty impressive to me. So that's one of the reasons I enjoy Black Clover. I just enjoy the cast and the fact that I can always rely on the cast to keep getting story time and keep getting story development, and I enjoy the dynamics that they have with each other. One Punch Man is just a totally different type of series. It's really good for action, like great choreography. It's funny, good fights and stuff, in terms of like visual choreography, you know. Yeah, that's mostly it. I don't think One Punch Man is like, it actually does have like a pretty cool, like the plot does get pretty interesting. Saitama's a really fun character. Don't think there's people who try to argue that One Punch Man is good thematically. Like, it's fine thematically. There's some people who like legitimately say it's like a brilliant like metaphor for depression or something like that. I'm just like, what? This is like I guess that's kind of like, I think because Saitama is such a simple, like he's a character who has no, like he's all powerful, like he's so fucking broken, right? It's like, well, what's the one thing that you could kind of write for a character like this as like a thing that he has to deal with? It's like, oh, well, just the fucking malaise of being so fucking strong that everything's easy. So it's like, oh, Saitama's like this brilliant, like, brilliant fucking like, representation of depression. It's like, no, it's just the only fucking thing that the author could like conceivably write for like a character like that, to keep him mildly interesting and mildly like dealing with some shit, you know? Anyway. Aaron D. Uzumaki says, Morj can't compliment a series without putting it down by comparing it to One Piece LMFAO. Well, look, I've made most of my fucking career talking about fucking One Piece. Like, I think about what, like, I automatically compare series to One Piece, you know? It's just, it happens in my head automatically. I don't know. Like, I'm kind of like, I'm trying to say I enjoy Black Clover a lot because it's giving me certain things that One Piece used to give me that it doesn't give me anymore. That's it. That's what I should have said. Should have just called it at that. Anyway. Anyway. Profits as Soul Eater, Fire Force, and Gachiakuda do ensemble cast well at Morj. Oh, Fire Force! I enjoy Fire Force for a lot of the same reasons I like Black Clover. I think Black Clover is better than Fire Force, but I enjoy Fire Force for those same reasons, in that it does try to do something with the ensemble cast pretty consistently. So that's another really good point. I like Black Clover better. I think it does it better than Fire Force. I think Fire Force is... I think that Fire Force genuinely has, like... I think it's only got, like, one unique character that I think is genuinely a standout, and that's Arthur, and then everything else is just like as bare bones as it gets. But it's enjoyable because I just like series where they treat they do ensemble casts where the dynamic is fun amongst the entire ensemble cast, and something is being done for all of the characters over a period of time. Yeah. Soul Eater I know by the same author, so maybe I'll give that a look, and people have recommended Gachiakuda to me, so I'll give that a try. Okay. Alright, guys. Alright. We are going to call it here. We're going to call it here. This was a really... I'm going to be honest, once I got off the plane, I was just like, I don't know if I want to go home and stream. But I'm glad I did. This was a fun stream. So I'm glad I did it. And yeah. I'm glad everybody enjoyed the